Back with some more thoughts about the Capitol Hill riot. Just briefly want to touch on some things that I was thinking about. We are extremely fortunate that it went the way it did, and that the more violent rioters who went there to actually cause physical harm to our politicians, potential pipe bombs were found. There were men seen walking around with zip tie handcuffs. There were people armed to the teeth. We are extremely fortunate that it didn't get as bad as it could have, because there could have been so many more casualties. And another thing that we're extremely fortunate about is that there was no foreign terrorist cell in that mass of people that could have done so much more harm. That could have been way more determined, competent, had a better plan, and have been willing to die. Because they easily could have been hanging out on Parler, 4chan, Reddit, the depths of Trump internet hell. They could have got the times, the dates, the whereabouts. They could have buddied with other domestic terrorist groups and act as though they are on the same side. And then they could have used the Trump rioters and the Trumpists as a Trojan horse to walk straight through the front doors of the Capitol Hill building. And with the second, third, and fourth in command all in that building at that time, who knows what could have happened. It's still, obviously, they have sullied this nation in such a way that the stain is going to take very long to wipe away. People who are laughing at this off, are just fools. This is no laughing matter. It's hard to know where we'll go from here, but it's hard to see that things are going to get better in the short term. There was a recent poll released from Ipsos, I believe. Let's see if we can. There's a poll from ABC. 61% of Republicans believe that Trump did nothing wrong. That is a enormous problem that is not going to be remedied anytime in the short term. Here you have another poll. This one is from YouGov. 45% of Republicans approve of storming the Capitol building. So not only the other poll is, maybe you can take that one. They think Trump did nothing wrong. They're still obviously completely confused. But just flat out asking them, do you think the storming of the Capitol building, do you approve of it? 45% approve. That's more than disapprove. 43% disapprove, and then there's 6 that don't know or are unaware of the story. I'm not sure how you can be unaware of the story, but sure. And then this is a major concern, right? So a majority of Republicans blame Joe Biden for storming the Capitol. I don't understand how you could say that Joe Biden is to blame for storming the Capitol, but here we are. A majority of Republicans think Joe Biden is to blame for storming the Capitol. 35%. 30 not to blame at all. 35 think he is to blame. A great deal to blame. Somewhat to blame is 17%. And then not much to blame is 15%. They still think Joe Biden has some blame in storming the Capitol. And that's because they actually believe the lies and conspiracies that it was stolen from them, that it was a fraudulent election. Even though they can't prove that. They had multiple chances, dozens, over 2 dozens, over 3 dozen different cases in multiple different states, and they couldn't prove a damn thing. Listen, we have to have some level of cohesion in this country. So that means we have to trust in some level of our institutions that when we bring certain matters to the courts, and this many courts in a litany of different states all come to the same conclusion that there was no election fraud. Sorry, there was no election fraud, which is a different thing than voter fraud. When they say that there was no widespread election fraud, there's nothing that's going to flip the country. When even William Barr's, he comes out and says, yeah, I don't see any evidence of election fraud. And then you have all the courts hearing these cases, or at least looking at the lack of evidence that was presented to them, and them throwing the cases out, or just flat out the Trump teams losing case after case. We have to then agree that that is what it is. That's why the courts are there. That's the conclusion, absent any other evidence that you can bring forward. And if you have no other evidence on your own, to believe other than what has not been proven is delusion. And then storming the Capitol building based on these lies is a terrorist plot to coup the American government and overturn the will of the people and install your leader who lost.